Alright everyone, welcome to Monday's video on Celtic A.M. and I open with a couple of apologies, a bit like former SFA Head of Referee Operations Crawford Allen whenever a decision went against Rangers. Apology number one, was going to do a match reaction after the game yesterday. Stevie was primed and ready. Unfortunately, with the game being like a midnight kickoff and me having been out all day, I fell asleep. That obviously didn't happen. So my sincere apologies. We'll make up for it in today's video. Loads to chat about. Second apology, a bit late today with the video as well. I'm really sorry. I had to watch the game, so I know what I'm talking about, and I had a wee bit of a lie-in this morning as well. I'm really sorry, everyone. Hopefully you can forgive me. On the plus side, Celtic were very good again, so let's discuss it. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I am really enjoying watching this Celtic team right now. I thought yesterday was just more of the same. Sure, for the second week in a row against Hibernian, it was only a 2-goal margin of victory. Could have been a hell of a lot more, and yes, we gifted them a bit of an easy goal, let's just say. But I thought generally it was another really enjoyable afternoon/evening/morning watching Celtic play. It was another performance filled with really nice bits and general really impressive and encouraging individual performances and some more really good goals. And it helps when you get an early goal. I think it was 3 minutes last week when Nicholas Kuhn scored at Easter Road. It was 4 minutes yesterday when our wonderful number 3 forward, main striker, etc. Daizen Maeda swept in that goal, gave us a really good start because Hibs had actually started the game quite well and kind of been keeping us penned in, a couple of long throws and that kind of thing. Just in case you don't know what a long throw is, that's what people do. But generally after that, we got the early goal and we kicked on. But it has really made a big difference over the past couple of weeks getting that early goal. And again, the really, really obvious thing that any of you, I would assume, will have been able to notice is that Celtic just have real intent in our play at the moment, and the players want to get in behind, they want to break the lines and really, play into the space this season. And that wasn't necessarily apparent at all points of last year, but it really has been so far this season, especially in the couple of matches we've had at Celtic Park. So far, I think the two performances against Kilmarnock and yesterday against Hibs have been quite similar. Take the first goal, for example, and when I'm talking about the intent to get in behind, that's it right there from Reo Hatate. He's going to get in behind the Hibs defence, stretch the game, and you can see him pointing exactly where he wants the ball. Now, I don't think that's necessarily something we would have seen last season. By the way, Hatate was brilliant yesterday. Probably my man of the match. I know most people have gone with Daizen Maeda, but I thought Hatate for me was just so lively, and he was involved in virtually everything that we did, especially in the first half. He had that brilliant lobbed, kind of scooped pass for Matt O'Reilly, where Matt O'Reilly ended up squaring it when he could probably have gone on his own. But that was just an example of the brilliant football we were playing yesterday. He was involved in the first goal. The second goal, again, at risk of repeating myself, it's players want to get in behind. It's Kuhn this time who has the ball. And by the way, Kuhn is becoming a bit of a playmaker for us, which I think really works quite well because he's on the right-hand side, he's left-footed, and he's drifting kind of into the pitch and opening up the pitch. He's almost becoming another Hatate or another Matt O'Reilly, in that he drifts in and almost into that central midfield role, and he has real ability finding that ball in behind. We saw that with that exquisite outside of the foot pass against Manchester City, and we saw it again yesterday, this moment. And again, it's Daizen Maeda who's on the run this time. Just look at that green space for Maeda to run into. Just a dream for a player that has his kind of pace. And it looks really easy, this, but it only comes about because the players have it drilled into them to stretch the game and whoever has the ball has it drilled into them to notice runs like this quickly. Now look at this point, I don't think any Hibs player really sees a massive amount of danger there, but Maida and Kundu, they both know what's happening here before any Hibs players really do. It's a great pass from Kun, a little bit of a kind of scrappy finish from Maida, but he does really well, and he has 2 goals at this stage. And yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to pick out. It's no secret, everyone's commenting on that now, that's the big change from Celtic, certainly in possession this year, that we're doing things far quicker, we're looking to get in behind far quicker, and there was numerous examples of that throughout the game yesterday. We also just have real freedom in our play this season, and I think last year that was probably one of the main criticisms that Celtic fans had, and I don't want to keep harping back to last season because I know there was a lot of things going on with injured players and the various other external factors that Brendan Rodgers has spoken about. But if you go back to the previous manager, the one thing about Celtic's play was it was so expressive and players were popping up all over the park, and it was almost as if the players were given that freedom and that responsibility to go and do what they want. And it felt at various points last season like things were a lot more controlled and slow and laboured, but that is not the case this season. We have real freedom in our play, and there's one example in particular that is pretty ridiculous, featuring Greg Taylor, our left back, Greg Taylor. Just remember, Greg Taylor's a left back here. I'll just go through these kind of screen grabs. So we're 18 minutes into the game for this first one. And this is Greg Taylor. You can see him circled there in the far touchline. He's got the ball in the traditional left back position. Play progresses a little bit. We're now 11 seconds later, and yep, that's Greg Taylor now in a pretty unnatural position for a normal left back. But Greg Taylor's clearly been given the freedom to drift in the play into what is a centre midfield role now, the kind of role you would see O'Reilly playing, or Callum McGregor or Hatate. And again, he's linking the play. But that's not even the most crazy of all positions that he picks up in this attack. Because again, we fast forward a few seconds, and yes, would you believe it, that is Greg Taylor there circled, making a run down the right wing. Bearing in mind, 15 seconds earlier, he's been in that left back position we looked at. Now he's on the right wing. It doesn't come off, but to me, it just shows the freedom the players are being given under Brendan Rodgers. The slow, methodical stuff of last season is a thing of the past. And the players are now being given the freedom to go and express themselves on the pitch. And that's shown perfectly by that Greg Taylor example. So I think that's great. And it's just great to watch and gives the opposition so many other things to think about, and gives us so many more opportunities for overloads and various space for players. So I thought yesterday, first half especially, I thought it was really, really good from Celtic. I thought it was more of the same. I didn't ever think the game was in much doubt, to be honest. I thought Hibs were kind of poor again. Maybe it was a slight improvement for them from the game previously, but I thought we were in total control of the game. Hibs created very little. They scored with their first attack of the game. It was a bit of a cheap goal, I guess. Carter Vickers gives away the free kick, probably a bit of a daft challenge, unlike him. And the marking's not great. There was a hint of offside, but I think he's onside. It's a good header from the guy, Kucherevi, I think his name is. But a bit of a soft goal. But apart from that, it was a really good afternoon. Dyson Maida I thought was fabulous, leading the line. I'm pretty confident and happy with Dyson Maida being our third choice striker, if that's what we're going to do this season. I think he's proven when he's played there that he's absolutely fine. I don't think we're going to see much of him there because we'll have Kyogo, who wasn't there at all yesterday, playing a lot of the time, and Ida, who will be starting games, playing a lot of the time as well. So I don't think we'll necessarily need Dyson Maida as a main striker, but I'm happy for him to be that third option. I think he showed yesterday that he's absolutely fine. As Brendan Rodgers said, he's played in a World Cup for Japan in that position. Did he not score in a last 16 game against Croatia, I want to say? So he clearly be absolutely fine playing that for us. Yeah, we had Adam Ida back involved too. I thought he looked pretty lively when he came on, had that one run in behind. It was a good run. Kind of should have probably got on to the end of it. Didn't quite manage it. It's just nice to actually be able to talk about Adam Ida on the pitch rather than all the off-field stuff over recent weeks while we sign him. Good to get him back, got a great ovation. Thought it was a great crowd as well yesterday at Celtic Park, over 50,000. I thought pretty good for a Sunday game that wasn't on the season ticket. Yeah, Kuhn was lively, really good. I'm so excited about Nicholas Kuhn. I think he's becoming a really top player for us, bit of a playmaker, as I say. Hatate was my man of the match, just ahead of Maida. Callum McGregor went under the radar, I thought, was a really good performer. Matt O'Reilly was Matt O'Reilly. I thought James Forrest was excellent again. There was just so many good performances. Greg Taylor, I think, is another one going under the radar a little bit so far this season. I think he's made a really good start to the campaign. So yeah, the team is in a really good place. Safe passage yesterday, more really good football. I doubt anyone really would have been coming away from Celtic Park yesterday not pretty enthused by what they'd watched. And yeah, we move on. We're into the last 8 of the League Cup now. The draw for that was made after the game yesterday. And we'll get another home game, this time against Falkirk of the Championship. And they beat Hearts 2-0 on Saturday, which is a pretty impressive result. They've also made a 100% winning start to the Championship season. They're a newly promoted Championship team as well. I think they did quite well in the group stage of the League Cup as well, maybe won 3 out of their 4 games. So we're going to be playing a pretty confident team in a number of weeks at Celtic Park. It's obviously a match you expect us to win. Big one for Kasper Schmeichel as well against his former side. I know he was posting about that on Instagram, so he'll be looking forward to that. So that's all well and good. Brendan Rodgers was speaking positively about Falkirk manager John McGlynn, who used to be a staff member at Celtic. So it's a nice tie for us to have and a chance to get through to Hampden for the semis. These are the other quarter-final clashes as well, by the way, that came out in the draw. Yeah, you'd expect Aberdeen to make the semis for sure. Probably Rangers too. The Motherwell Dundee United match is a 50-50 one, I would suggest. In terms of the post-match comments, Brendan Rodgers extremely pleased with the team's performance. He suggested that it had been our best performance of the season so far. You may agree with that, may not agree with that. Certainly very happy. He fielded the usual questions on Matt O'Reilly. Doesn't seem to be any change there at all. He must be so sick, fed up of answering the same questions on Matt O'Reilly. But we've not got much longer to go in terms of that, whatever way it plays out. He was also asked a bit about Kyogo's fitness situation. Kyogo was left out of the game yesterday. He kind of aggravated that shoulder issue. That's your shoulder, by the way. That he's had in recent times, although I think he's had it for a bit longer than we all realise. He's had it since he was back playing in Japan. So he was left out yesterday. He will be back soon, but it seems like there's a bit of a bigger issue with Kyogo around surgery. I'll just read out these Rodgers comments and discuss it. Rodgers said, "I think he's had this for a long time, long before he came to Celtic. We just gave him that rest and we'll see how he is tomorrow. I believe it's something he's had in Japan where he's just managing a shoulder issue and from time to time it gets a little bit irritable and a little bit sore. He could have surgery, but it takes him out for probably about 4 months. It's only him that can decide that." So the story here, quite simply, is that Kyogo needs surgery to fully fix this shoulder issue that he has. But Kyogo doesn't appear to want the surgery for whatever reason. Maybe he feels that he can get through this fine. It is worth saying that the shoulder thing isn't an issue for him in every match. You kind of go through months at a time without it being mentioned and then it will just come up again. But it seems like he needs shoulder surgery to fully fix this issue. And as I understand it, speaking to some people with medical background, this may be an issue that could have kind of pretty bad consequences for Kyogo if he doesn't get the surgery and he really has an issue there. It could keep him out for longer than 4 months. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, as Brendan Rodgers says. It's fully up to Kyogo. Celtic can't make him have surgery if he doesn't want to, and it's maybe that, I don't know, maybe Kyogo's in a little bit of denial about it. Maybe he just doesn't think it will be an issue, or he doesn't want to miss 4 months. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. Ideally, I think he'd have this surgery at some stage and then hopefully be fully over it. But as I say, it's up to Kyogo, and I'm sure we'll be discussing this a bit more. Hopefully not, because it'd be amazing if he could just kick on from this. But yeah, it's not an ideal situation for Kyogo, but it's worth saying he's clearly been managing this issue longer than we've all known about Kyogo. Yeah, Lubo Moravcik was at the game yesterday too. See that switch up? That was very, very impressive. Lovely to see him back at Celtic Park, and I'm sure he enjoyed watching the team yesterday. He was back in Glasgow taking part in a Celtic State of Mind event last night. Johan Mialbe, I believe, was the other guest at that. So, yeah, great stuff. Lovely to see Lubo back at Celtic Park. Other news, Daniel Kelly update. He's now set to leave us this month to join Millwall. We spoke about this last week, the fact that he'd agreed to join Millwall at the end of his Celtic contract. That's up at the end of this year, so he'd go to Millwall in January. I think it was felt by all that it made more sense for Kelly to go now. It made sense for all parties, and that has now been agreed. Lanarkshire Live Sports say Kelly is in London at the moment and will undergo a Millwall medical over the next 2 to 3 days. 1 to 2 days. Yeah, we're set to receive around £400,000 plus add-ons for his early release, so I guess that's decent enough business. We're obviously disappointed to lose Kelly, but I think it definitely makes sense for him to go now rather than to spend another 6 months in our B team, if he would even play for the B team. I don't think that would have done anyone any good. So I'll let you know when that's confirmed, but I think it certainly will be in the coming days. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I just think Celtic are really good to watch at the moment. But yeah, I think it's a point Brendan Rodgers actually made after the game yesterday, that it's kind of a bit of an easy period at the moment. We've only got the weekend games, only domestic games, teams playing well, teams confident. We're going to obviously have tougher moments this season when maybe injuries come in and we maybe drop points in a couple of games. And obviously when the European stuff comes in, that's going to be the real challenge. So I think his point was, things are well and good at the moment. The team are playing really well, but we still need to add quality in the transfer window. And we still need to improve as a team because we're going to have far bigger tests to come. But I think as far as things go, domestically, the start to the season has been really good. We've got St Mirren next week back in the league away from home. I think that's going to be a testing game. They're out of Europe now, so they won't have a fixture to worry about this midweek. But St Mirren away is a game that's given us some tough moments in recent years. So I think that's going to be a tough game. The derby the following week as well. I think we're all kind of licking our lips a bit about that one, given how good we've been at home so far. But the team just need to keep putting the effort in. We need signings as well. What have we got? We're kind of into our last 10 days almost now, not quite, but into that kind of range. So we really need to be hearing about left back, centre back. And yeah, I think there's plenty to be positive about, but it's going to be a busy end to the month. I think that's me covered everything I wanted to say. I'm sure you won't be shy and let me know your thoughts on the game yesterday and what we need going forward. And yeah, we'll get into it. New week, we'll have plenty of people on this week and we'll build ahead to St Mirren.